Hello guys and welcome back to another video. Today we are doing another setup for January, but this time is for my mom's journal. She's going to choose each theme because of course it's her journal and I want it to be enjoyable for her. So I show her my stationery collection and she chooses some stickers or ephemera that she likes and I do a theme around that. For this one, she chose two sticker sheets from Sticky that has little houses and shops, and the other has some vintage decorations. So I'm going to focus more on the tiny houses and shops and sprinkle some vintage decor here and there. I decided to make the cover page a little tea shop because my mom's loves tea and I love coffee, so we're very opposite. And I thought it was fun to take some details that I liked from the stickers and combine them all into this one house. I have a color palette in mind and I didn't want to make the line art in black because it would be very harsh and it wasn't going to complement the other colors, so instead I made the lines with this Stabilo Fineliner in this cream light pink color, and then when I color the house with the markers I know the lines are going to be darker on the spaces that I go over it with the color. I don't know if that made any sense, but you're going to see in a minute. So this is the sticker sheet that was the inspiration for this theme, and now we are going to color this tea shop. The main colors for this setup are going to be cream, beige, teal, and dark blue. I wanted to give a cute name to the shop, so I ended up on this tea and treats name. I think it's cute, you know, some tea and biscuits or cookies. I'm not a tea lover. In fact, I don't like tea at all. I'm a coffee lover through and through, and it's hilarious that my mom doesn't like coffee and I don't like tea. We agree on most things, but food and drinks are the things that we are complete opposites. And that's fun for me because I can have a coffee theme for my journal, for example, and I can still make a tea theme for her journal. It's a win win. Okay, so now I'm making some shadows by going over the base colors to make them darker in some spots, and that's pretty much it. For the titles, I'm going to write them in my usual calligraphy, just a little more polished, of course. And if you saw the video for this journal setup, you know that I'm going to make this journal in Portuguese because my mom doesn't know English and it's her journal, so of course I'm not going to force my mom to know English. But don't worry, I'm going to explain the words as I go and I'm making subtitles in English for every Portuguese word so you can still follow along. I bought these packs of paper from a local store and I was flipping through them when I saw this one and I thought, wow, that's the color palette for January theme. I have to use this. So that's what I'm doing. Also with the other cream paper. They are very thick, like cardboard, but I really like them, so I think it's fine, but it's going to test the strength of this notebook for sure. Since the background is a little complex, I decided to write a quote in this baking paper that's slightly transparent, and the quote I chose is, in Portuguese, "A vida é sobre os pequenos detalhes." That translates to life is about small details. Next is the calendar spread, and I'm going to make a very simple layout in which the calendar is going to cross both pages, with Monday through Friday on the left side and weekend on the right side. Also on the right page, I'm going to make space for a to-do list, and all of this with the same Fineliner I used to do the line art on the cover page, because black is not welcome on this setup. I'm going to use the dark blue marker for the titles and mini titles and all the things that I'm going to write throughout the setup. So I'm writing the days of the week and the days with this color to bring some more of that into the theme, not only with the main titles. I thought it would be fun to make a plate pattern on the to-do list. It turned out a little more orangey than I thought it would be, but I think it still looks cute, so it's fine. I'm using again the flowery pattern paper and I cut out the shape of the calendar to look like the paper it's behind the calendar. It was very easy to do. I just had to mark the section that I had to cut and take that part off and glue it. My favorite pens to do lettering are these ones, the Pentel Fude Touch Brush Sign Pen. These ones have a firm nib, not a flexible one, and although the flexible nibs from other markers like the Ohuhu for example are very good to do big lettering, even though they aren't made for calligraphy, but I use them for that and other many things, I still prefer the firm nib from these Pentel pens because it's more easy to control. A very good mix of firm and flexible nib are probably the Faber-Castell Pitt Artist Pen markers. All of this, of course, it's just from the stationery that I have. I know many people like Tombos and other pens, but I don't have those, so I can give you my opinion on that. But if you want to start doing some lettering, the Pentel and the Faber-Castell are my recommendations to you. The next spread is for the first weekly, since the first week of January is only 5 days because I start my weeks on a Monday. I'm making space for only that on the left page. A very simple layout with the columns for each day and a rectangle to write the things. And below that table is a space to write important things and events. I'm using a cream eyeliner to color some sections of the table to give more visual interest without being overwhelming. And I'm writing the weekdays with the cream fineliner and the numbers with the dark blue. On the right page, I'm making a small table for my mom to write ideas for dinner. Sometimes she's like, oh, I don't know what I'm making for dinner. So here is a space for her to write some ideas for that, and now she can plan ahead. Of course, this is just useful for her because she's the cooker in my house and I'm the baker. This is basically the same table as I did for the week, but just smaller. This little box that I'm making is for a mini calendar and I'm making them in all the weekly spreads so that my mom can see in which week she is without having to go back to the calendar spread. After I glued the papers, I had this blank space and I decided it would be cute to make another quote. My mom loves them, so she can have one more. The one that I chose is in Portuguese. Hoje vai ser melhor que ontem, which translates to today is going to be better than yesterday. I had to cut a little bit of the papers that are closer to the binding because when I flipped the page it didn't close properly because they are very thick, so I cut a little bit and it made it much better. Moving on to the next week, I made this one a vertical layout similar to the one I did on my January setup actually. I just made a smaller section on the top for the dinner plans, divided the last column in two to make space for Sunday, and the half circles on the top are for the days. Then I colored the dinner section again with the cream color and every second line of the planning section with the pastel blue color. Again, on the top I made space for a mini calendar and next to it a section for the important events. For the next one, I made a layout, kinda like a gallery wall. I divided each page in 6 with no borders, and in some of the boxes I'm putting the days of the week. In other two is a space for the dinner ideas, one box for the mini calendar, and the remaining 2 boxes are for decoration. While I was setting up the weekly, I realized that I forgot to mark the week on the previous weekly, so I went back and colored that. Then it was time to put the days in each box, draw the mini calendar, and make the section for the dinner. I didn't show much of the mini calendar because it's the same thing over and over and it's boring. But for the dinner part, I just wrote the days as a list, and in front of each, my mom can write a dinner idea. We're almost there. This weekly, I made days on the center of the spread, and on the left side, I'm putting the mini calendar and the dinner section, similar to the previous one, and on the right side, I left space for decorations. Then, to make the spread more interesting to look at, I colored every second line on some of the rectangles, and on the right page I put a stripe of the flowery paper and put a little house there too. To bring back the pastel blue marker, I decided to also color every second line of the dinner section, because to make a theme you have to make repetition with elements, colors or motifs to maintain consistency. And I know the colors I used to color the lines are barely visible on camera, but they make a very big difference in real life. Okay, now it's time for the last weekly, and this one is going to be very similar to the first one, since the last week of January also has 5 days, but the only thing different is the right page, where I'm going to make a few changes. When I was coloring some sections of the table, as I did on the first weekly, I realized that my cream marker was running out. But it still made it. But now I have to buy a new one because I love this color to make subtle details. On the right page, I divided the page in two, but the top is smaller. In there, I'm going to write the things that happen next month, or in Portuguese, no próximo mês. And next to that, another mini calendar. And on the larger section of the page, I left the space for my mom to write the groceries that we have to buy, or in Portuguese, lista de compras. we finally made it to the final spread of this setup, and on this one the left page is the only functional part because right page is for another quote page. So starting with that, because I'm loving working with these papers, I decided to invert the first quote page that I did on the cover spread. So for this one, the grid paper is actually going to be the background and the flowery paper is only for the corners. On the left side, I wanted to make a space for my mom to put her monthly expenses, so I did just that, a table for her to write the item, the price, and the date that it happened. And now she can see where her money is going at the end of the month. I colored every second line again with the pastel blue and wrote the title in Portuguese, gastos mensais, that translates to monthly expenses. But I made the title slightly off center, so to distract from that, I'm going to put a sticker on the left. The final quote that I wrote is in Portuguese: "Se não puder fazer tudo, faça tudo o que puder," which translates to "if you can do everything you can." It's time for the final flip through. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give a like and subscribe, it helps me a lot. I'm so excited to give you not one, but two sources of inspiration for every month throughout the year of 2025. And also, if neither of these themes made your fancy, you can check out all my other monthly setups for 2024. I'm finding that when I have less things to put on a theme, I can do better setups. Like for example, in my other January setup, the Year of the Snake, I only had to work with my drawings, the gold pen, and the black fineliner. And I loved that theme. So that shows that you don't have to have many things to do a setup. When you have less, it turns out better, at least for me. Comment down below which one of these two monthly themes you liked better, the Year of the Snake or this one with the tiny shops and flowery patterns. I hope you guys have some fun on the holidays, and don't forget to subscribe because my reading journal setup is just around the corner. So stay tuned for that. I'll see you on the next one. Bye!